I'm going to talk to all the makeup artists out there today because I know some of you have sent me some questions about how to take good photos of the makeup that you're doing. And of course, you know, after you finish the client's makeup and you think they look amazing and they feel amazing and you get all that beautiful energy between the two of you, you take a photo and then you're really disappointed with what you see. So today I'm going to give you a few tips so that your photos will look as amazing online as they do in real life. So most of the makeup artists out there, you'll agree that the majority of your work is online and people are judging your work from what they see on your Instagram or your social media pages. So it's important that your images really look, one, like a true representation of your work, and two, that they really sort of pop off the page and they stop people scrolling. So you want to combine both of those things. I know that you love what you do, and when you finish your work you think it is amazing and phenomenal, and then you take a photo of it and you're disappointed. So we want to make sure that the photos that you take are as phenomenal as your actual work and a really good representation of what you do. Because when people are looking for makeup artists, most of your portfolio should be online, on social media, and you want that to be a really good representation of what you can do for your clients. So first off, the number one thing is always, as I go back to the same subject first time, is lighting. So lighting is so important. The more light that you have and the softer the light, the less imperfections that you will see. Indoor light and artificial light can be a bit tricky because it can cast yellow tones, green tones or magenta tones onto the subject, and you look at the image and you're like, that's not really what it looks like in real life. So you know, and you could invest in things like a diva light, a ring light, or you know, other sort of lights, but you know, that's all extra things that you have to take on the day when you're doing the client's makeup. So the best thing, and I talk about this in the selfie tutorial as well, is good old-fashioned window light. So as long as it's a diffused light and it's not the sun coming straight through the window, then that's the nice soft light that you want. And the other thing is, I see a lot of clients a lot of makeup artists take their clients to the window, but then what they do is they get their phone to take a photo and they stand directly in front of all the light and then they're blocking it. So the best thing is there to either use a tripod with a timer, and I've talked about those options in the selfie tutorial. That's easy to do that. But just be conscious that you're not blocking the light that's coming on to your subject. So right before you take the photo, just make sure that you're not casting a shadow onto your subject's face. The other thing is, you might notice that a lot of photographers, not today of course, but a lot of photographers always wear black when they're shooting. The reason for that is because the colours that you wear can cast onto the subject that you're photographing. So if you're wearing, you know, pinks, greens, yellows, blues, and you're standing right in front of your client to take their photograph, then that color is going to cast onto their skin and bounce back into the image. So just be aware. I know some people just get a black cloth or something and just put over their shoulders just so that color of their t-shirt that they're wearing doesn't transfer. And the other colour cast can come from the lighting in the room. Different sort of light bulbs will cast a yellow or a green or a magenta colour onto the subject. And when you take the photo, the camera will pick that up and you're like, oh, that's not really the colours that I thought are true to the representation of the work you've just done. So just watch that. You can always adjust the colour tone and the temperature of the colour in an editing app, but we'll get to that further down the track. So the second tip is the camera that you use and the quality of the image. So I always say the best camera that, The best camera, hang on, I'll get it. the best camera is the one that you currently have with you at all times. So generally that will be your camera phone. I love my iPhone, but on the camera phones, the best camera is always the rear facing camera. The selfie camera, which is at the front, is a lower quality camera than the back facing camera. And as makeup artists, you always carry little cotton buds and tissues and stuff like that. So always just get into the habit of just giving your lens a quick wipe over with a tissue or a cotton bud soaked in alcohol, or a baby wipe or something like that, just to give it a quick wipe over so you don't get finger marks and smudge, and you know that the image is going to be really nice and clear. That goes hand in hand with saving the largest file. So you want the largest file. If you're using a DSLR or another sort of camera, always set your settings to the highest resolution, and then you can always downsize it if you're putting it on social media. But if you ever want to print that, because we all love printed images, yes we do, because they're completely different to a digital image. But that's a whole nother story. So make sure that you're saving it in the highest quality for future purposes, because you just don't know what you're going to do with the image down the track. The third tip is about editing, and I'd probably just say is go easy on the editing. We want you can always color correct and crop and ensure the focus is on the face, which I'll go back to that in a moment actually. I'll just pop that down there so we can follow that up. So I'm not against photo editing, but I am a little bit against some of the apps that completely change the shape of a face or take out any sort of character in that person's face. So, we all want to look amazing, but I think as a makeup artist, you want the work to be a true representation of what you do and your client. So let's not go, thinning their jaw or making their eyes bigger, or, I just think it's a bit much. The best sort of quickest app is on the iPhone. You've got the editing section in the photos. So the best sort of editing app is the one that comes with your iPhone, and all it is just going to add some light, change, the color correction, crop it in. A little bit of contrast is always good to make the image pop. But apart from that, I think that's all that you really would need to do. I'll just go back to when you're actually taking the photograph. Always just put your finger on the screen of where you want the focus to be. So if you've got a nice close shot of an eye, then just tap the screen to make sure the focus is on the eyelash or on the eyeshadow or wherever you want it. Really important. Don't just hold the camera up and think that it's just going to get everything in focus. It takes a little while. It takes you actually working the camera to get the best results out of it, and that's what's going to differentiate your images from other general images. So really take the time to frame it correctly, put your focus on the right spot correctly, and then just do a tiny little bit of editing with your contrast or your brightness just to bring up those colors of the makeup. So when you're taking photographs of your clients or your models, you want everybody to see the makeup first, not what's in the background. So try and get them in a non-busy, neutral background. Try and get them into a neutral background. Words are stuck in there this morning. Or get a nice close-up. But just be careful with your close-ups. The closer you go in, the bigger the nose can look. And it can just sort of get a little bit out of proportion, especially if you're having, when we do selfies, we sort of angle the camera down. You don't want to do that with clients because it will make their face look out of proportion. So always sort of keep the camera straight onto the subject so that you're not getting strange angles, you're not getting big foreheads, big chins, big noses, that sort of thing. You want everything to look really nice and in proportion for your client. So keep the camera up straight, get them onto a neutral background, and if you're going to zoom with your feet or zoom with your arms. Don't zoom on the camera. As soon as you zoom on the camera, you're going to lose a little bit of that quality, and you want the quality to be really crisp and nice. So zoom right in if you want to on the eye, but actually move your feet and get closer to the client, still keeping your camera nice and straight and upright. I know that you guys do so much work on the eyes, and it's always difficult to get great photos of the eyes. One suggestion is don't get them to close their eyes completely. Just get them to look down, because that gives it a nicer sort of angle. Sometimes when people close their eyes, you can get wrinkles or you can get little squinty lines, stuff like that. So just ask them to look down is a good tip. A couple of final tips, and I'll just run over what we've done with my little notey notes here. Make sure you've got really nice soft light for your clients. Use the back-facing camera if you're using a phone. Otherwise, on your good camera, your DSLR, make sure that you've got it set to the highest resolution. Check your focus point where you want the client to, where you want the viewer to look. Make sure that's really in focus. Check your angles. Make sure you're not making things out of proportion with foreheads and chins. If you're photographing the eyes, get the client to look down and not close their eyes. If you're getting close-ups, zoom with your feet by moving them instead of zooming on the screen. Don't over-edit, don't add filters, don't go crazy with the editing. Just a little bit of contrast, maybe tiny bit of brightness, and it'll make your images look really good. Another thing that I love, and you see with makeup artists, is that they do the little collage. So they'll do 4 images or 3 images in one. So it gives you a really good representation of what they've done on that client. And it always looks nice and gives a little bit of a story, and we like stories in photography. And don't be afraid just to have fun, shoot lots of different angles, get your client laughing, get your client serious, just have fun with it, because photography is meant to be fun. And we don't really want to see serious, boring faces all the time, with makeup. Get some smiles in there. These are real people. These are not just, I don't know, what are they, robots or whatever. Yeah, these are real people, so let's get them interacting with us. Get that sparkle in their eye, get them laughing, because that's going to be more attractive in an image than someone just looking all pouty and fish lips or whatever. I hope that with those tips that I've given you today, that you feel a little bit more confident that you'll be able to get a true representation of your work and get those images really popping online. And don't forget to subscribe below. If you've got any questions at all, please just send me a message or pop it in below, and I'll always get back to you. And I hope that everyone has a beautiful day. Bye.